Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Monarch and this is of course Crusader Kings 3. You can see a couple of things changed. I just thought it would be more comfortable for me if I didn't have to sit in front of the green screen. Now with that being said, this dev diary will also be a bit of a changer in the sense that we are of course going to talk about CK3 dev diary number 62, so the Monarch's Journey Unleashed. It is quite interesting, quite short but quite interesting nonetheless. And then afterwards I'm going to pick a fight with basically every single one of you. Listen, I don't mean that. What I mean is I want to talk about a topic I think that is very close to this community's heart, and about a topic where I hold strong opinions for basically everything, hold a strong opinion, and I would like to present mine to make my case. And if you disagree, if you agree, let me know in the comments. I just want you to let me know basically what you think about DLC, what you think about content expansions, and so on and so forth. But we'll get to that after the dev diary, so hold your horses until we can all get in a bit of a fist fight. I assume and I hope that we can all stay civil. I know I will, but I'm just joking, you know. Let's not have a fist fight. Let's just relax. This is a video game. Hello, PDX Medoc, how are you doing? If everything goes according to plan and there are no unexpected events, we aim to release the Azure patch, so that is the free patch 1.4 next week. That is absolutely beautiful. They mentioned at the end of the dev diary that we are likely to see, if this all works out, the patch log for Azure in the next dev diary, so on Tuesday. But let's focus on today's small dev diary instead. We've decided to make these cosmetics of the Monarch's Journey available for free. They mentioned this at the release of the game, that they would do that. They would, you know, essentially you could earn this if you played CK2 before CK3 released. You could earn all of these. I earned all of those because I'm a god of gaming. And they are quite nice. They're quite nice to wear, but there was always a bit of a drawback for me where they were never applied to any NPCs, making it so that, you know, you have like all these assets, and it is a number of assets. Honestly, the haircuts alone really makes people look different, but they were never used. And this will change. In order to celebrate this, we've also hooked some of these assets to be used by random characters. For instance, Scots will be able to randomly use the mullet haircut, while Frankish women will be able to use the Jeanne d'Arc haircut. So essentially what it means is that this is now available for everybody, regardless of whether they did the Monarch's Journey, and probably more importantly, this is now also involved in the actual NPC generation. You can see it right here. This is a random lady from France, and she has the Jeanne d'Arc haircut. Right here we have the mullet. Very, very nice. You love to see it. You can recognize that this isn't given to them by the player, by this being settled by default right there. And then right here, and because fashion changed over time, the chaperon and hennin will be available in the Western world only after 1300. It's a shame, because this is a really cool headpiece, but it of course makes sense. This wasn't around before 1300. Even then, you know, the hennin, with the hennin, I'm not actually sure, because I'm pretty sure that Matilda of Tuscany actually wore it, which is far before 1300. But yeah, no, I understand, of course. I've played with so many mods, you know, with the community flavor pack. I personally have used the expanded portraits and ethnicities mod, which is outstanding and is to come out within about 3 days, so be hyped for that. I'm going to cover that, of course. But more importantly, of course, there is a lot of clothing in those mods that is locked by region, locked by culture, locked by religion, and then most importantly, of course, locked by the time. In addition to that, we fixed several visual bugs related to highlighted by you. Spouses of rulers will now once again wear clothes based on their spouse's culture. That is nice, of course. If you come to a court of your husband or of your wife, then that will be something that, you know, influences how you dress, even if you are of a completely different culture. Arabic high nobility will now use the scholar's turban, and caliphs will use the caliphal robes. That is a very nice change. Sometimes these bugs crop up, where they essentially go and say, hey, we are in a situation where this should be worn by these people, but it isn't, and now they're fixing it. I can only say, good job. The spindly trick now will make people's limbs too thin, and no longer make people's limbs too thin anymore. Okay, yeah, that I'll take it. On the AI side, we reworked how vassals handle holy war and added constraints on feudal and clan rulers to limit their aggression of tribal rulers. These modifications still allow the Byzantine Empire to expand, but in a more elegant way. Let's have a look at a few results from observer mode. So what we have right here is 1265. I assume that these are from different games, so these are from different years. You can see it right here, this is 1287, but the map is so wildly different, I honestly don't think, you know, look at this, like, all of a sudden, all of this is unified. It doesn't, Castile all of a sudden implodes. I think these are from wildly different games. So yeah, let's just take a look at this. If this is indeed something that we will see here, where effectively the Byzantine Empire stays within its lane and doesn't move out, that even makes it better for the ultimate immersion mod list, the mod list that I prepared and that is the most subscribed mod list in the entire workshop. Makes it way better for there, because then we will see the Seljuks coming in with the Sultanate of Rum right here. That is a part of the mods that I use. They do that, and then we have quite the weakened Byzantine Empire that will stop taking Africa all the time. It annoys the hell out of me, so this is definitely a good change. Still, the Byzantines need a rework, but let's assume that this was started in 1066, because you can see the the HRE, which is never something that happens in 867. So we have about 200 years here, and the Byzantine Empire looks fine. It looks perfectly fine. Much, much better. It was disgusting the entire time since launch. Much, much better here. Still, this is a stronger Byzantine Empire right here, but honestly, it still looks fine. It's something that I can personally live with, and then over here, we have the Byzantine Empire, without a doubt, and not a single time in Africa. I'm a huge fan of this. I think this is a great change, and I hope that this will indeed work as it is intended. And this, my friends, is the end of the dev diary. You can see right here that the patch log of the upcoming patch of Azure will be posted next week, if indeed nothing gets delayed. I hope that nothing gets delayed, but I have to tell you, let's come to the juice. Let's come to the meat of this video. Let's talk about the DLC paradox by... DLC policy by Paradox. I can't talk anymore, but essentially I want to make a case for two things, and these are two of my opinions, and if you disagree with either of them, with both of them, with any of them, right, please do make your case in the comments. I'm very interested to see your position. We've had so many, essentially, argument video in the last weeks, and they were all absolutely great. There was so much valuable feedback in there that influenced myself, and hopefully influence many others as well. If somebody makes a good point, then we should listen to them. So now, let's take a look at my opinions. The first opinion that I essentially hold is the fact that I think grand strategy games need long-term support. There are many other companies out there, and I will not name any names because I have a lot of respect for all the work that people in the industry do that are passionate about it. But I think that there are many, many examples for games that essentially come from a point of view where they could be a new hit, essentially. They could be huge. But then you look at them and you say, yeah, all of this there are many great systems here, but at the same time, we're looking at a situation where the game is no longer supported, where you release this, and then to make money, because you need to pay your programmers, you need to pay your QA, you need to pay your content designers, to make money for that, you moved on to the next project, because you don't know or don't think that the game that you have, that you made there, has enough of a player base to actually buy DLC, to make it so that you can stay afloat. Paradox is in a unique position in this, and Paradox has had some bad streaks when it comes to DLC policies, has had some good streaks. Now, I fundamentally, and this is my first opinion that I want to make here, and that I want to state, and then I want to get your opinions on that, of course, but my fundamental first opinion is, I think long-term post-release support for grand strategy games is inevitable and vital if you want to create a game that is truly worth it. My second opinion is that the Royal Court for 30 bucks, so it's $29.99. I don't know what it is in USD. I think it's $34.99, which is, by the way, justice. Usually, it's just the same price between US dollar and euro. In this case, it isn't. So I'm like, hey, we got him this time around because the euro is stronger. But it doesn't matter. What I mean is, I am arguing that that is not a price that is too high. I think that if we break down the cost of the game over a year, it makes perfect sense. And let's do that. Let's actually get the math here, okay? Let's take a look at the math. So what we have right here is Crusader Kings III. You get, if you didn't buy the Royal Edition, so if you did buy the Royal Edition, of course you come out ahead. I think this is an increase of, let me see, 25 bucks, right? This is like 25 bucks. Can I do math? Yeah, this is 25 bucks. So you pay 25 bucks for the first flavor pack, for the first expansion, for the second flavor pack. Okay, that is the Royal Edition, 25 bucks on top of the game price. Now then there is, if you buy it individually, which is $6.99 and $29.99, so you come out at 35 bucks. So you save 10 bucks, if my math is correct. Please do correct me if it isn't, but you save about 10 bucks, right, if you buy the Royal Edition. Otherwise, let's assume the maximum price. You pay 35 bucks in the first year, because let's be real here, the game released on the 1st of September 2020, and it will not get another flavor pack. I would put my money down that before the 1st of September is over, so before the first year is over, we will, if we are lucky, we're going to see the expansion pack. I don't personally even believe in that. I believe that the Royal Court will be releasing somewhere around holiday season, you know, maybe in 2022. I don't see it in September. But let's assume the Royal Court expansion comes out before September. Let's assume it's a 1-year time frame. Why do we want to assume that? Well, because I want to take a look at CK2. So what you need to know about CK2, if you weren't there, if you didn't see it essentially, this is the very first game that Paradox ever made where it had long-term support. We had many, many other games before that. Victoria 2 comes to mind, Hearts of Iron 2 comes to mind, Hearts of Iron 3 comes to mind, Victoria 1 comes to mind, that essentially got 1 or 2 expansions and then were dead. And these expansions oftentimes also took a lot of time, because in between they developed new games and then returned to an old game and did an expansion for that. Meaning that as a fan of the game, to get the complete edition, you didn't get much more content, but on top of that, I mean, oftentimes you get the content that actually made the game playable, but let's not get into that too much. Honestly, like, it wasn't a good time. Many people act like it was, but it wasn't. And then Crusader Kings 2 came along, and Paradox said, what if we make this a properly supported game that is there for forever, essentially, you know? And I mean, it was there until the last DLC, I think, in 2019, I want to say, right? That was Holy Fury? Was it 2019 or 2018? 2018! Holy Fury, wow, yeah, November 2018. Now anyway, how did it start out? What was the first year DLC practice of Crusader Kings 2? We got some Dynasty Shields, Mongol Faces, Holy Land, Songs of Faith, Songs of Albion, Ruler Designer, Songs of the Caliph, African Unit Pack, Sword of Islam. This is the first, okay, the first actual gameplay enhancement, Sword of Islam, right there. This is about a year. No, sorry, about a year, no, my apologies. This is like 4 months out. 4 months after the release. So the game was released in February, this is then in June, and it was released on the 14th of February, so it's a bit more than 4 months, right? But this is the first gameplay enhancement. The rest, all of this here, you have to buy it separately. You have to. If you want to, you know, get these songs, if you want to get the faces, which many of the mods will be using, etc, etc, if you want to get the Dynasty Shields, that sort of stuff. Then we have Songs of Byzantium, Byzantine Unit Pack, Legacy of Rome. So this stuff comes out together because it belongs all to the Legacy of Rome. You can already see they are changing the approach, the fundamental approach that they are doing. This all releases on the 16th of October, right? All of this releases on the 16th of October. Then we got Sunset Invasion. I mean, I bought it. I still think it's a great DLC. Then we got Russian Portraits. We got Russian Unit Packs. We got the Republic. We got Songs of Prosperity, Mediterranean Portraits, and then 3 months afterwards, so this is 1 year and 3 months, we get this entire Old Gods thing. Now, I did not, in my calculations, include this Old Gods thing, because I want to calculate the first year of content. $63 of DLC. $63 of DLC in the first year. And I have to tell you, and you might want to disagree with me about this, I mean, you might disagree with all of this. I hope that you make your case again in the comments. I love to see arguments, if they are civil, and if they make a good case, but so many of you do make good cases. If we assume that my hypothesis number one, which is, you know, grand strategy games need long-term support, is correct, then we have to find a way that functions for players, and that functions for the company to make content, right? I think we can agree with that. Nobody likes to part with money. I'm not saying be happy that you get to spend money. But what I am saying is we have to find a way that works for both. Now, what is the benefit of this small tier system? This truly peanuts. It comes out, there's so many of them, you can pick and choose. That's a benefit for the player, right? A benefit for the company is that they weren't sure back in the day whether anybody would buy it. Because this is the first time they've ever done it, which is why they were like, what if we just feed peanuts, essentially, right? That's the idea of the company. What are the drawbacks? The drawbacks are $63. $63 compared to $35 in CK3's first year. The other drawback, and that is important to me much more than anything else, because I think even if you have $63, see, as much as I frame it against CK3 here, I still think that if you as a hobby have playing Crusader Kings 2, $63 are not that much money in a year. In 12 months, it's less than a Netflix subscription. Much less than a Netflix subscription, right? I hope you get where I'm coming from. But let's move away from that. What is the major drawback that I want to point out of this model? Or of any model that isn't like the current CK3 model? Or, I mean, they did this before CK3 came around. They actually did it right here. You can see it. There is a year between Jade Dragon and Holy Fury. They took their sweet time developing those, and those were large. Holy Fury was the best DLC that we've ever gotten for this game. But the real drawback of these teeny tiny peanuts is not just the price, which is of course much more than what we have here in the first year of CK3. It is the fact that you develop a DLC and then you cannot connect it to any other system. They said on the forums that they will have a new way of unlocking features, so that will mean that in general, a new DLC, let's say, you know, grander, or let's say cultures, let's say, I don't know, because we haven't seen any dev diaries, let's say culture mechanics, certain culture mechanics, not all of them, because many of them have to be in the free patch, but certain culture mechanics are locked behind the Royal Court DLC. And then they do something that is related to culture, right? Somehow, they will have to unlock that despite you not owning the Royal Court. Now, they already explained that they have something in the code that makes it so that you can call on it much more easily. So instead of being like every time you need to check for the DLC, it just says, hey, if you got this DLC, all of this works now. Okay, so it is much, much easier to do for them to integrate features between DLC, but also to connect features within one content drop. If you look at the DLC here and the updates that came with them in CK2, Sword of Islam, completely isolated. None of the mechanics play any role for anybody, except for Muslims, and even then, honestly, Decadence isn't that good. Don't tell anybody that I said that, okay? They're gonna hate me. Legacy of Rome. You will never feel this DLC anywhere else. It's completely disconnected from the base game and from Sword of Islam. Sunset Invasion, I mean, okay. I like the DLC, but don't worry about it. The Republic. The Republic was the first DLC that actually, and it's more expensive, as you can see, $9.99 versus $4.99. The Republic is the first DLC that tried to connect itself to the actual game world by making it so that trading posts heavily influence what sort of money you can make in a province. Did anybody actually play like that? No. Because the connection is still not strong enough. What I am talking about, and this is the end of my case, essentially, I am very much inviting you to talk to me about your case, what you think about this entire endeavor, are two theses. The first one being, we need long-term support, and we need a model that is sustainable, both for me as a fan, for you, as a player, for the company, so that they can keep developing things, because companies are always, and this has nothing to do, I want to stress this as well, this has nothing to do with being publicly traded. Companies that are publicly or privately owned, all of them want to make money. That's the way the world works. That's a company. That's why it's a company. But on the other hand, I think this long-term support is a thing, and my other case is that the old long-term support for CK2, for any other game, was much, much worse, not just in pricing, but fundamentally in how the DLC were developed. Now, I hope that I was able to make my case. I wanted to make this case primarily because I saw a couple of people, and I understand it, it's frustrating. I don't disagree that the way you feel about it isn't valid. I think it is totally valid. If you see something that costs too much, you should be frustrated. Don't buy it. If you think something costs too much, do not buy it. You will regret it. Don't do it, okay? But I wanted to address the objective validity of whether the CK3 model is terrible or good. In my opinion, it's great compared to what we had before. We got, in this model, we got Holy Fury, which was huge, but is nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what we know of Royal Court. And then before, Holy Fury and all of these bigger DLC, we had all of this mess. I don't want to go back. Let me know what you think. I'm very interested in your opinion. And that is the end of this Dev Diary video, which in its most part is not actually a Dev Diary video. I'm very excited for the Azure patch, though. I will definitely be going through the patch log. I will see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the Barons and the Counts and the Dukes. Thank you all for supporting the channel. And I will see you later. Alligator.